Okay, everybody's all set. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Warrant Finance Committee meeting, May 11th. It's 6:05. The reason for this meeting tonight is to talk to the fire chief. We have two warrant articles we've been presented with. Article 4, I believe it is about purchasing of a new truck. And then we have the warrant article dealing with the fire and rescue budget. Has everybody got their warrants?
Yes.
Well, let me put it this way. Is there anybody that doesn't have their warrant? That the selectmen have sent out?
Shit, you didn't get one.
Who didn't get one?
David.
I guess everybody has it.
Didn't get no mail.
What's that?
I didn't get any mail. I have a copy of the warrant that I took off from the town's website.
Ellen, you did the same.
Okay. Thank you, Roland. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to discuss these two warrant articles. And unless the committee says they want to do it, we're not going to vote on these warrant articles tonight. But after we have the discussion, I'll ask the committee if they want to, and if they so choose, and we will. Jen?
Yes, sir.
I can't see Ricky. I don't know why, but I did, but he left.
I can see him. Can anybody else see Rick?
Yeah, I can see him.
It's got to be something in your settings there.
You gotta come back. Molly, Ricky went away. Oh, there he is. He's back there now. Can you hear me, Rick?
Yep, loud and clear.
Dennis, before you dive in, could I update you on the E and S&S just so you can have that information?
The what?
ES&S is the company that prints our ballots.
Okay.
Would that be okay? So you could
Yeah.
consider it as you
Yeah.
discussed?
Yeah.
So it's been determined that, so just for clarity, the deadline set by the company is May 15th. They have given us, if I can have it in their hands on Wednesday, May 27th.
Oh, boy.
We are still at 10 days, and if we pay the expedited shipping, they believe we can.
You're breaking up, Jen. I'm sorry.
We are wondering if there's any way that the Warrant and Finance can make the recommendations on Tuesday, May 26th, a week earlier than you had planned, possibly by doubling up a meeting either this week or next week, moving it up just 1 week so that we can print ballots with your recommendations on it and get them back in time for absentee ballots.
If we can work it out, Jen, that the Warrant Finance Committee can get all the information that they want to be able to look stuff over so that they can make a recommendation on the articles. You know what I mean? I did call Michelle today. And I explained to Michelle that some of the stuff that I was asking her for was we were going to vote on back in March at the school warrant. When that Wednesday, we're going to meet on the school warrant, and we had conversations. It was going to, as a committee, was going to ask for some information to come out to the municipal budget. But then when everything got shut down with the COVID-19, you know, everything kind of went away, and it's hard a couple of months later to remember everything that was going on, because then we was right into everything, you know what I mean? And taking that break, it's hard to get restarted. And so Michelle sent out some information today, and I'm sure there's going to be other information. Look through the warrant articles in the audit. There's going to be other information that we're gonna want to research stuff with. And, I'll probably ask the committee tonight, with their permission, excuse me, any, things that the Warrant Finance Committee might want some more information on, to give me the authority to, ask on the behalf of the Warrant Finance Committee without a specific vote from everybody to, request that information. For example, if Virginia wanted to know something that's in the warrant and why the backup information that she might want on it, if she called me, I could notify Michelle and would just get the information.
That's a policy of the Board of Selectmen, though. I mean, that's a conversation you may want to have with them, because that's the instruction they give us as employees, that, you know, information is to be gathered after a vote of a committee to determine that the committee is looking for the information and it's not, you know, one member on their own. So that may be something you may want to discuss with the selectmen.
I don't know how to do that with Ed. Ed, could you speak to the liaison, I guess? I mean, these are uncertain times and things are different, and,
It's
whatever.
true, but I can't make that decision because it's a board decision. But we can definitely talk about it Wednesday night. And, I mean, I know I see Kim on here, but still without all of us and being at a board meeting. But we'll definitely bring it up Wednesday night at our meeting and have it, you know, if we do approve it, it'll be ready to go for you and you can move on and do what you need to do. But we do have to. Go ahead.
So that would do then, Jen, to answer you, is put us out another week before we could move forward, I guess. You know what I mean? 'Cause you can't make recommendations on something that you want to get more information about.
And that's why I sent the email, like, because you know you're going to meet with the road commissioners next Monday. So if there's anything, so at the end of the meeting, if there's things that you would like from the road commissioners, certainly, you know, you guys can have that discussion today or, you know, at the end of the meeting, and we can get it for you. The problem that the selectmen had in the past, and, you know, maybe they will waive it because it is different times and we're trying to save on time, is that, you know, one member of committees would call different departments that kind of all go in different directions looking for information, and it was being duplicated, and, you know, but maybe if it's run through the chair, they'll be okay with it.
That's my thought. We'll discuss it Wednesday night, and, you know, if there's things that other members want, if they run it through the chair, which would be you, Dennis, then, you know, we may give you the authority to be able to gather that without a vote of the committee. So, yeah, this is different. The way everything's happening right now is way different than what we've ever done before. So,
The committee would be voting to
we all need to
authorize me to do that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Can we just move ahead and see how we do tonight?
Yeah, yes. So Article 4, to see if the town will vote to allow the treasurer to execute a bond in the town of Acton's name in the amount of up to $330,095 for a term not to exceed 5 years, with an interest rate up to 4%, and to appropriate the loan proceeds along with $69,905 from the Fire Department Capital Improvement Fund to purchase a tanker truck for the Fire Rescue Department, and raise and appropriate up to $40,000 for payments on said loans through June 30th, 2021. I will take a motion on this article. Can I get a motion, anybody, to open this up for discussion?
Make a motion. Article is not to pass.
Is there a second on this motion?
I'll
Well,
second it.
Can we discuss this? the questions?
Yes. Oh, yes, but we have to make the motion and get that through
Okay.
first. So it's in motion and seconded, that Article 4, ought not to pass. Now I'll open it up to discussion. Please raise your hand. I'm sorry, I should have said this before. Now I can see everybody. Hopefully I can, and raise your hand, and I'll call you on that way. Carol, it's nice if you made it tonight. I appreciate that. Virginia.
All right, I have a bunch of questions, so.
Virginia.
Yeah. On the interest rate of 4%, that's the max. What's the realistic rate that we could possibly get less than 4%?
So I had sorry, Dennis.
Go ahead.
I had a conversation with the bank, and asked them for an estimate, of course, without going out to bid. They won't lock anything in. And
Yeah.
because of what the interest rates are doing right now, it's pretty unpredictable what's going to happen in July. But it could be anywhere from 2% to 4%. She said she would bank on the 4% as our high. So it could be half that, or it could be that. So
Okay.
But obviously, Michelle, if you can get it for 3, you'll be getting it for 3.
right.
Okay, what's next, Virginia?
How many fire department employees are there?
Could we address that, Virginia, when we move to the article to support the fire station and employees?
Okay.
Maybe I'd like to the thing here just to the truck.
All right, then on the truck, I'm wondering what the official objective opinion is on the current truck, and can it be repaired as opposed to being replaced?
Ricky, would you take that?
Yep. So I sent a 50-some-odd page document to Tom Gore outlining the issues with the truck, which I was under the understanding he shared with all you guys.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and just to interrupt me, and this is the problem with one person contacting out, you know what I mean? So if Mr. Gore is reaching out to Rick Smith about that, the rest of the committee didn't see it. So that goes to point as to why the board has that policy. Rick, I don't think
Let me interrupt you, please.
Hold up, man, Tom. Hold up. The reason why Tom reached out to Ricky is because he's a liaison to the fire department. So he's representing the Warrant and Finance Committee with the fire department. So that's why Tom did this.
Thank you, Dennis. That's all I need. Oh, that's all it needs to be said.
So Ricky?
Yeah. So I detailed out. I just pulled it up. It's a 42-page document on why the tanker needs to be replaced. In that document is photographic evidence of extensive frame and body damage from rust and corrosion over the years that it's been in service. It covers the year, the mileage, and everything in there that would cover all of the questions that you guys might have. I'm more than happy to, now that I have all of the official emails, I will forward that out so you can see all the stuff. To answer your question, Virginia, it's the amount of money that we would sink into repairing the rust, the frame, and the other broken components would start to become a lost cause. We would just keep sinking more and more money into it, which we have since the previous fire chief acquired the truck. We've dumped a bunch of money into it just to keep it on the road. We went to 2 different state commercial vehicle inspection agencies to get the truck inspected to see if we could keep it in service. After some deliberation with them, they gave us a sticker for this year, but in October that sticker expires, and both places said they would not re-sticker the truck. It is too hazardous to be considered safe for the road.
So where does that leave the town if that truck is out of service and we have no replacement?
So we have The purpose of a tanker truck is to carry large volumes of water to a fire scene to be deployed rapidly. We would be out 3,000 gallons of water, which is more than what we carry on all our other vehicles combined. Having that water on wheels essentially gets us that water rapidly, which means we can put more water on the fire quicker, which yields us a higher result, or a better outcome for the homeowner.
Okay. I know you weren't here last year, Rick, but I'm wondering if there was any concern a year ago amongst people in the town hall or in the fire department about this upcoming expense. I guess it surprises me a bit.
The concern was brought forward as far as I was made aware. Again, I wasn't the fire chief then, but I've been a member of the fire department since 2001. So as far as I know, it was brought forward, but it was an issue that kept getting put off to handle other issues that were coming up.
So we didn't put aside a reserve of money towards this.
I know for the last 2 or 3 years, we've requested money to be put aside a little bit each time, and it's been shot down at town meeting or by other boards. And
Okay.
other people can verify that.
Oh, I know that.
Well, I know the fire department needed a lot of other things last year, that most of which you got, so maybe that was why, but okay, thank you.
Yep, and
Go ahead, Rick.
oh, I was just drinking water. I didn't have anything else to say.
Oh, okay. Tom,
I would supplement Rick's response there in one way, and I think it's important for everybody to understand that when our lead truck, attack truck, leaves Acton Station and has about 10 minutes worth of water on it, assuming you're going to pick people to an interior attack or rescue, you cannot make that commitment unless you know you have backup water going to the scene. And I think that is really vital. In other words, captain gets on the scene, he's either going to make an interior attack or a rescue or not. If he doesn't know he has more water coming behind that lead attack vehicle, he's really on dangerous territory committing people. Am I correct, Rick, in that explanation?
Yeah, so total water availability is a tactic, and where our rural town doesn't have fire hydrants and stuff like that coming out of the ground, it's a little bit slower for us to get water. So what we do is we purchase a large tanker and we supplement that time gap by having a large supply on wheels. And so that 3,000 gallons helps us go from the initial truck, which carries 1,000 gallons, until we have an established water supply. We've tapped into a pond or a dry hydrant or some other source that's a little bit more reliable. Along with that is we call in other towns to bring tankers and water to assist with that if maybe a hydrant is not nearby. There's parts of town, despite having 10 major lakes and ponds, there are parts of town that's hard to get water from. And so we work as a collective to make sure that happens.
is that it, Tom?
Yeah, I think Rick picked it up. It's that time gap, the possibility of that time gap occurring without having water available and people in the building that becomes a problem. You're depending on tankers coming from out of town, you're not going to make it, assuming a full commitment.
Thank you, Tom. Arnie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got two questions I like to ask. The tanker truck seems like a generic. Is this just a truck with no pump on it? It's just carrying water, or is it an engine and can help fight the fire?
So what we're looking to purchase is actually, and you're correct in that, Arnie, what we're looking to purchase is a pumper tanker. It should have been labeled as a pumper tanker, but common nomenclature, we call it a tanker. So a pumper tanker has, what we're looking for is a 1,500 gallon a minute pump and a 3,000 gallon tank. It'll also be able to deploy hoses. It'll meet what we call a Class A rated pumper level, which would help supplement if one of our engines had to go out of service or anything like that. We would be able to also use that truck for that purpose. Any chance that I get to kind of cover all of our bases, I always want to do that, because things do break, things do go out of service, and we run into those type of issues.
Okay, well, I was just wondering. Mm-hmm. And the other question I have is for Michelle. The number 3, the validity, I just don't understand that. Does that mean that if the truck comes in over budget, it doesn't matter? It's, I don't know. Number 3. The validity statement.
Okay, so this is this, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this, what's on here is based on the 4% interest rate. And it's based on taking out a loan for the full $330,000. But in the case that we find a truck that's cheaper, or that we get a lower interest rate, these numbers all change. So what it's saying is, this isn't tying us to this amount, but this is giving us an estimate of what this loan is going to cost us.
But could this go over does this mean not to exceed once it's voted on? Or does that mean it can vary over what we appropriate?
So the financial statement is accompanying the warrant article. Because the warrant article says up to, then we're tied to up to.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that number we requested isn't something that I pulled out of the aether. We reached out to some manufacturers, asked them what it would cost for them to build a truck for us, what they had on the lot, all that stuff, and tried to do my research. Picked a number that was in the middle, because you don't want to sell yourself short. You know, we had some trucks that were very low, and we had some trucks that came in very high, you know. So we tried to pick something that is a safe number to get an adequate, safe truck that meets our needs.
Anything else, Arnie?
No, that was the 2 questions I had.
Okay, Roland, you had some?
I don't have any questions. I just have an opinion. Would you like me to express my opinion at this time?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that it's prudent for the town to be entering into another bond issue. We already have a bond issue out, which is 300 and some odd $1,000. We're going to add another 300 and some odd $1,000, giving the town a total bond issue of in excess of 600 and almost 650,000. I don't feel that this year at this time, okay, that this is a prudent move for the town to make. I understand the need for the truck. I'm certainly not in opposition for the truck. I just think that given the present situation that we're in and whatnot, it's not prudent financially, not in my opinion. And that's the end of my objection.
Thank you, Roland. Tucker?
Just a couple questions for Rick. What year is the current tanker? And at the, say, 390,000, what year truck would you expect to be able to purchase for the money?
So the truck itself, believe if you check the date, which I've got in front of me, is as an 87. It sits on an 85 chassis. I'm sure you're well versed in how that works out.
Yep.
What for the year truck? New, or we also looked at some demos and some spec trucks. So depending on the manufacturer, at the time we looked at some demo spec trucks that they had available. We looked at some new, fresh off the line trucks. One of the manufacturers we work with is all they do is build spec trucks. So depending on when we sign an agreement with them, if that's who we go with, we'll get the newest one coming off the line. Mm-hmm. Demos really depend on the season, because if they're just coming out with a new truck and they're getting rid of their old demo, then we can get that at a pretty good price. But it all depends on when we agree with it, when we can act on it. Mm-hmm. All the manufacturers are happy to give me a number that they want me to pay, but until we have actual money to bargain with, I don't have any teeth.
Mm-hmm. And how often does that truck get deployed? If you had to make a estimate, like weekly? How many times does it go out?
I would say probably a handful of times a month. I couldn't give you weekly. I could give you an accurate number if you give me some time to pull the runs, and I'll write that down as a note, Chuck, and I'll get back to you with that.
Okay. Thanks, Rick.
No problem.
David, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just a,
David Senior, can you
simple,
hear me?
is that a tri-axle truck? It's a tandem or tri-axle?
Dual. It's dual axle.
Just tandem, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. That's 3,000 gallons. All right. I know, if you have a fire, you need water, and if that truck's going out, I don't know what you're gonna do, but you need a tanker. I know there's a lot of them around, but,
My plan is October 1st, that truck's getting parked. The equipment's coming off it, the tank's being drained, it's getting parked.
right. That's kind of scary.
Anything else, David?
Nope, nope.
Carol, do you have something? Carol, can you hear me? Is she still there, Jen?
Looks like her microphone is off.
Her microphone's not. I've tried to unmute her, but she's not.
Okay.
I'll text her and check in with her.
Okay, I can, excuse me, move on. Ricky, how many bids did you get on this pricing? Did you see? You can't hear me either now?
Rick is muted.
Everybody's
Sorry,
muted.
I had to mute
Okay.
myself, and then I got stuck being muted. We reached
Okay.
out to, I think we reached out to 6 manufacturers, and
Yeah,
3 or 4 got right back to us.
okay.
So I probably have, of those 3 are in our ballpark. 1, I'm pretty sure was gold plated, so we can write that one right off
Right,
based on the numbers they gave me. So
okay. What would be the cost difference, Rick, and why wouldn't you do this? Just buying a truck and taking the stuff off this tanker and putting it on a new truck?
So the pump and the tank itself are actually components of the same truck. It's all basically welded all together. So it wouldn't be like in forestries, we can do that. We can take all the components off, put it on a new truck. The way these tankers are manufactured, it's literally basically one big piece, and it's really not feasible.
It doesn't sit on a subframe and then that sits on your truck?
Everything's all welded together, and when I send you out the packet of pictures, you'll see that and why that became a problem in the way this was manufactured and its age.
Okay. And this truck here, Rick, is the same one a couple years ago that we bought from Rochester. It's the same truck.
Yeah, you remember at the time we bought it as a stopgap because the tanker we had was doing the same thing. It was older,
Right.
It rusted out, it was falling apart, and we bought this to get us by for a couple of years. And I believe that was 6 years ago.
Wasn't it after we bought the ambulance?
It was after, but yeah, so 3.
It says
Yeah.
3 years.
All right, Ed says 3. You're right, Ed. Time has been very interesting with this whole pandemic thing.
Oh, yes, I agree with
Because
you,
that's
Rick.
the first thing the chief bought as soon as he was appointed.
Okay, so that would make sense. Yeah, because I was finishing the ambulance project when Steve took over.
Dennis, Carol is back and she can hear you now.
Okay. Carol, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Sorry about that. My screen froze and I couldn't unmute myself. But no, all my questions were answered.
Okay. Where I understand what you're saying, and I really have mixed feelings about this whole thing. I understand we need water, but I also understand what we're looking at, or I think I do anyway, for the future here. And I'm not sure really what the taxpayers can afford at this point, or what's going to happen this next coming year. Nobody seems to even have any idea what the impact's going to be financially to everybody. So with that being said, this is to Michelle. So the 316 that we have outstanding right now, Michelle, what was that for?
The Goat Hill land purchase and the sand and salt storage building construction.
How much? Well, we still got several years left on that.
Yes, we have until, I think we have 5 years left on the sand and salt building, and we have a year and a half on Goat Hill.
Okay. So I would just like to throw this out there to Ed and the rest of the committee. What would your thoughts be if we took it out for this bond out for 7 or 8 years instead of 5, to lessen the amount of payments? And Ricky, in the last 5 years or so, excuse me, the town is really been supportive of the fire department, and we spend an awful lot of money over there on equipment.
Yep.
Would this be the end for a while?
So again, I made up a multi-page document that I sent to Mr. Gore outlining purchases, expenditures, everything down from building maintenance to vehicles to number of staff to who works to where they're from. I put a lot of time into that and laid it all out there to answer all these questions ahead of time, because I like to do my homework.
Appreciate
This
that,
has come to me.
And can you forward that to the
I'm
selectmen?
talking
And
about major.
Yep. Nope. And that was in that project. So let me pull that up.
I've got it, Rick. I can forward it.
All right. So capital improvement plan replacement. So tanker 7 is obviously my current request. My next request by time. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have to do it. It all depends on the state of the truck at the time. But so going off of NFPA standards, which is our guideline, engine 1 would have to be replaced in 2026. So that's my next. That would be my next capital request for a vehicle.
So that's 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years from now.
So then that goes back to my question about changing the length of the loan so it's drawn out and go ahead, Ed.
Yep. I guess I wouldn't have an issue with it, but I think I'd refer it more to Michelle, and she's the financial side of the town, if you will, for loans and whatnot.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, Michelle.
I certainly see your point, Dennis, lowering the annual payments. Of course, the longer a loan is drawn out, the higher the interest rate goes up and the more interest you're paying. So, I mean, there are benefits and there are disadvantages to lengthening that payment.
I guess
what we could do as a town is just take the money out of the undesignated fund balance and buy it and be done with it. We wouldn't be paying no interest. That's a possibility.
That's my other thought, or maybe half of it. So.
I'm just, there's been a lot of talk in the selectmen's meetings, excuse me, about the conversation about future revenues and where we're headed. And I think it's our responsibility as a Warrant and Finance Committee to look at all these different things and try to work out with everybody. I'm not saying we don't need the tanker, but it's how we pay for it, I think, is a bigger issue. Anybody else? Connie, go ahead.
One more question for Rick. What would be the backup plan if this thing doesn't pass?
So we always have a backup plan. We always pivot to solve the problem. That's what the fire rescue does. So if this was to not pass, or if this does pass and there's going to be a time in between when we order it and when it arrives that the other truck is out of service, we're going to do what we call is stack our run cards heavy, which means normally we'd request 3 tankers for a fire from various regions around us. Now we're going to ask for 6 or whatever we're going to do. We're going to ask for everyone around us to support us and prop us up in this time that we're running short, which is never something we want to do for too long, obviously, just like asking a neighbor for help. But that's what we would have to do to at least make that stopgap measure, so we weren't putting our citizens at any undue risk.
Yeah.
One other question. What's the delivery time if we buy a new one?
All depends on what we negotiate for. So if we buy a spec truck or a demo, it could be a couple of weeks. If it's something that we have to get from manufacturer times vary depending on the manufacturer. It can be months to a year. It really depends on what who wins the bid, basically.
Okay.
What's the cost of rehabilitation of this truck?
To completely redo it?
Yeah.
I hadn't even asked because the commercial garages we went to did not recommend it.
No.
Because of the severe damage. And I'm cranking out that email right now. You'll see what I'm talking about. And anybody's willing to schedule a one-on-one appointment with me. We're obviously still not letting a ton of people in the building, but if you want to crawl under the tanker, I'll be more than happy to roll it out in the parking lot for you.
Yeah.
I did offer it to Tom, and he politely declined.
Okay. Tom, go ahead.
Are you calling on me, Dennis?
Yes, Tom.
Okay. First of all, I want to apologize for not supplying everybody with that information. I didn't know this meeting was going to occur until this morning, and I had anticipated sending it out to people in preparation for the meeting with the chief, but like I said, I didn't know the meeting was going to happen until this morning. Secondly,
I apologize for that.
okay, it's all right. It's done. It's, it is what it is. But that's why that happened. Moving on, aside from what has been placed before us in the proposal in the warrant, we've talked about a lot of options here, but most of it is speculation. We have options, but we don't know anything about them. So my suggestion would be that we put together a list of those options that have been offered here and then pump the numbers on them and see and come back to reconsider this at a different time when we have more information on the cost of the various options that have been discussed. That's my proposal. And I will make an motion if somebody would like.
All the options fall within that 400,000 that we requested, and that was the point. Is come up with a number that gives us a couple of manufacturers to fall within that range, not asking for too much. And all of you guys know that I would not bring this up or come forward with this unless I felt we actually needed it. I understand as good as anybody, if not better, than the current situation of what the world is like right now. And I would not have pressed forward with this issue if I didn't feel that it was both needed and very serious.
Anything else, guys? Ladies, I'm sorry.
Just like to see if it would look like we took half of the money out of the needed balance and.
I'm sorry, Carol. I couldn't hear that.
I said I to see what the numbers would look like if we took half the money out of our designated balance and borrowed the rest.
I think I'm losing
Did
something.
you hear that?
You heard Dennis?
Carol's breaking up.
What she said is she said she'd like to see what it would look like to take half of it out of undesignated funds and borrow the rest.
And what would that do to our undesignated funds if we did that too? What would our bottom line be?
So we're proposing already using $400,000 out of the undesignated fund to offset taxes to make up for some of these lost revenues. You're talking, another $150,000, $160,000. I mean, it would put us below what we're comfortable with. You know, for a long time, we all wondered why we had this undesignated fund to cover 3 months worth of expenses in case something came up. Well, something's come up. And we're seeing that right now. We're already losing revenues. I would just hate to start taking too much money from the undesignated fund if we didn't have to. But, I mean, the money is there if we have to. And this is, to me, is something that's important to the town, to every family and home in the town. I mean, I would be comfortable using it for this purpose. Using it for something that wasn't needed would be another thing, but we have this emergency money for a reason.
How much would that drop the payment as far as the loan payment? I mean, is that going to make that much of a difference on the budget? If you got that down to half, I'm thinking for the little amount of interest, you may be better off borrowing it all, wouldn't you?
If we borrowed it all, did it longer, like Dennis said, is it something that we could revisit next year if the economy's better, and make the loan smaller again?
Well, you could always make a second payment. I mean, if times were that good and you were rolling in revenue,
I don't, because we don't know what's going to happen. But if things were good, I don't know. It was just an idea.
Make a comment.
We're gonna go ahead, Tom. Then we're gonna move on.
David, Mr. Chairman, let David go and then.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, thank you. This is Dave Winchell Senior. I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, all the selectmen have gone through this and made a budget, and tax rate, I don't believe is gonna jump, is it?
No.
Nope.
Stay the same.
Yeah, so, I mean, this here is thrown in there, right? I don't think we're gonna go broke because of, if our budget ain't gonna change, and that's what it's budgeted for. And it's something we need, of course. When they shut down that truck, it shut down, and you need it. You get another town quite a ways away, it's a lot handier if it's handy. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Tom, go ahead.
The undesignated fund is for contingencies and emergencies, and the notion of taking money away from it decreases our ability to meet those contingencies or emergencies in the near future. However, we can always borrow on tax anticipation notes to cover any uncovered emergencies in the next fiscal year. So again, my suggestion is that we look at the numbers on this and we consider the options. In other words, spend the undesignated fund balance that we have right now, or half of it, or whatever we decide to do. If we have a problem arise next year, we can meet and vote to authorize the selectmen to borrow on tax anticipation notes, and your tax rate is going to be lower because it's short term. Or not your tax rate, your interest rate is going to be lower.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Virginia.
Does anybody know about what the difference is on the interest rate you would pay on this loan versus what you would pay for tax anticipation notes? I know the economists and the bankers that I've been listening to all seem to pretty much agree that over the next 3, 4, 5 years, conceivably, that the Fed interest rate is going to stay in the cellar. So I don't think we have to be concerned about, if we did it this year versus next year, that the interest rates are going to be spiking high. That does not seem to be the consensus of opinion in the financial community.
So in the town of Shapley, we do use tax anticipation notes every year. Our rate this year is just under 3%. So there's not a huge difference in that short-term loan because, well, it's $1 million loan that we take out every year. But so there's not a huge difference between, a 4 or 5 year loan and the tax anticipation note at this time.
Okay.
Okay, with that being said, first off, the money we have in the bank isn't costing the taxpayers any money in interest right now. All right. We're getting a little bit, but we're not getting much, that's for darn sure. And the difference between, like Ed said, you take half this money out of the undesignated fund balance, and hope for the best for this next year, because that's all we're all doing is hoping for the best next year on our finances, and the town's no different because we're the ones that paying the bills. You just tighten the bootstraps a little bit, and, but not. You say the budget's not going to go up. If you're going to be making another $70,000 or $90,000 payment, that's going to come out to the taxpayers, and it's in a dollar amount that we didn't have last year. You can hide it all within the budget however you want, but the bottom line is, the taxes are still going to, the amount of money with operating costs are still going up, and the only reason why the tax rate isn't going to go up is because it depends on how much money the selectmen decide to use out of the undesignated fund balance. Because almost every budget in this warrant has gone up. And I appreciate that. But with that being said, I am going to take a roll call on whether the committee wants to vote on this tonight or wait till, I would entertain a motion, I guess, rather, on postponing the vote on this until next Monday night when we do the roads.
There is a motion on the floor too, Mr. Long.
Will people be, were the ones that made the motion be willing to rescind their motion?
No,
What's that, Roland?
I said no, I don't want to rescind my motion.
Okay.
I want to move forward based on the motion that I made, which is ought not to pass, and I'll modify it to say at this time.
The motion's already been made and seconded. So unless there's a motion to modify it, we're going to vote on the motion.
Then leave it the way it is.
Yep. Those all in favor of the motion not to pass?
Tom's got his hand up. I don't know if you can see him.
The discussion's over. David Senior.
I think it ought to pass.
Is that yay or no? What's that?
I disagree with the motion.
So you're voting no?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, you have to be clear.
I want to.
Tom, what's your vote?
I'm going to make a motion to table for consideration at a future meeting of this committee after we have more information on exactly what options we're going to exercise here, because I think the committee needs input from this point moving forward. So that is a privileged motion.
That's a motion to postpone the vote.
That's a privilege.
Tom? Right. Is there a second for that?
Okay.
No second? I guess the motion dies.
Okay.
Lack of a second. So anyway, Tom, how do you vote?
Go on. I'll vote when you're done. I'm still thinking this through.
All right, Virginia?
Tell me again, if I vote no, what is that?
That means that the motion ought not to pass will fail.
Okay, then I vote no. I'd rather see take 100,000 out of the undesignated fund and borrow the rest.
Boy, this is confusing. I hate negative votes. Negative motion.
Should swap it around because I'm not sure that the committee is completely understanding what they're. So the motion was, I make a motion for Article 4 to ought not to pass.
That's what I said.
Right.
So voting no means that they support the truck essentially. And voting yes means they don't want the truck.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Just want to make sure my notes are right. So far I have 2 no's.
So far you have 2 no's.
Yes, sir.
Honey,
I'll vote yes.
too much to get in there. Roland, I'm sorry.
You know my vote's a yes.
Tom,
No.
All right, you know what I'm in favor of? I'm in favor of us maintaining some influence over this process as it moves forward. Problem with Virginia's thing is she would like to see that $100,000 come out of the undesignated fund balance, and I agree that that is a very appropriate path to take. But if we pass this as it stands, we have no control over this. So again, I will make that privileged motion, and if you don't want to consider it again, fine, tell me, and then we can move forward. But I'm going to suggest again that we table this. And you can rule that out of order, Dennis, if you wish, because we've already voted on it.
no, I don't think it is out of order. But is there a second to Tom's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Let's hurry up the vote.
Can I expand a little bit on why I think, or have I said enough? I've said it quite a bit about why I think we need to stay involved in this process. Okay, there are other issues too. We don't know what kind of truck we have. We haven't even talked about the truck itself much, except to say we're going to buy a truck. We don't know what it is. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And we need involvement in that process. We need to be involved in that.
We understand where you're coming from. So now we're gonna take a roll call vote on tabling this till Monday. Arnie, yes or no?
Yes.
Virginia,
Yes.
Virginia,
No,
what did you say?
no,
Tom,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Roland,
No.
David,
Didn't we have a motion on the table floor before?
there was a
What are
procedure
we gonna
motion.
do? We're gonna do
and
another
I've
motion on
accepted
the
the motion, and now we're taking a vote on the motion. What's your vote?
Why don't you make this simple? Like, we're trying to make this job really difficult. Why don't you vote on the article as written or not written? Yes or no?
What the question is, David, is
I know
do
what
you
your
want
question
to
is, but you
table this
already had a
until
motion
Monday
on the
night's
floor.
meeting?
And you're changing it from another one, what Tom said, and you already had a motion.
I understand the procedures, all right? And I'm asking you a question. Do you want to table this till Monday or not?
No, I do not. I want to pass it.
That's
like
all I'm asking.
As written. Now,
So
how do you
what's
make a motion?
what's the
You
count,
got
Jen?
3 motions on the floor now.
The current count is regarding to tabling it until Monday is 3-2. Mr. Murray said yes, Mrs. Shea said no, Mr. Gore said yes, Mr. Waterhouse said no, and Mr. Winchell Senior said no. So I have 3 no's and 2 yeses to table it until Monday at this point.
So even if I vote yes, the tie is a negative vote, and so we're not tabling it till Monday anyway. So moving on.
Can I make a motion?
The motion fails, is what I'm saying.
But what about the first motion that you didn't finish voting on?
That's where we're going back to the original motion now, Jen.
Thank you.
And now we have Who left to vote on that?
Mr. Gore.
Yes, ma'am? What?
What's your vote on that, Tom?
Ought not to
original
pass.
Ought not to pass. I'm going to support the purchase. I don't like the way we're doing it because we're at this point in time, we take this, it's all done. We're out of the picture here. Okay? I really have a problem with that. But I also know what happens on the fire ground and why that truck is needed. So, I have an objection on the process. Again, we're shortchanging ourselves. We have no input from here on out if this goes ahead. And, well, I won't say, neither does the chief, but okay,
Right.
I'm done.
So that's, two in favor and 3 not in favor, Jen, is it right?
Yes. So make a motion for the article ought not to pass, 3 noes, 2 yeses.
Okay. So, so that's the vote. Yeah, I'm not voting.
It's a privilege of the chair and you don't need to, probably.
That's right.
Good work, Dennis.
So for clarification, Dennis, can you hear me, Dennis?
Yes, go ahead.
So for clarification, my motion for ought not to pass fails.
Fails, yeah.
So we have done nothing.
Right.
We have not said yes and we have not said no to this article.
No, but that's the recommendation that will go on. The Warrant and Finance
Right,
recommend the article ought not to pass, 3-2.
I understand. Thank you.
So that'll be the recommendation that'll be recorded. 2-3, Jen. Yes is usually first, right?
Ought not to pass, 2-3. Yes, sir. Yep.
With one abstention.
Yep. So now we go on to, Article, it's right here, honey. 36. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $664,000 for wages and operation expenses of the Fire and Rescue Department. Can I please have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the article as written.
Can I have a second?
Second.
36 go.
It's moved and seconded. It's moved by Rollins, seconded by Virginia. Now I'll open up to discussion.
Oh, I guess this is where I should be asking how many employees are in the fire department.
There we go, Virginia. Thank you.
I've also forwarded you all the 2 documents which I spoke to earlier, so you can review them. They were done early this year, Tom?
February.
Yeah, so there's some stuff that's not as updated, but nothing critical in there. As it stands today, I have 37 employees, 2 full-time, 14 that work part-time, and the rest are on-call volunteer, well, on-call, that they get paid when they go on calls.
Thank you.
Anything else, Virginia?
Nope.
Anybody else got any questions?
Oh, I do have something.
Okay, wait up, Tom. Let Virginia finish.
I'm waiting.
On the EMA stipend of $1,800, is the emergency management part of the fire chief's job description? And if so, I'm wondering why this is broken out.
That's the next article.
I can say it's not.
But I can tell you as the fire chief and the EMA director, that is 2 distinctly different jobs. And I know right now it doubles the amount of meetings I attend every week. I have to attend all of the EMA meetings and all of the fire chief county meetings. Some information overlaps, some doesn't. My contacts through being the EMA director have helped us get money, equipment, and all kinds of stuff that hasn't been any cost to the town, which has been awesome, especially when we talk about buying things like PPE. We haven't had to pay for any of it through contacts through EMA. So,
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
All I was going to say is some people on this committee have just gotten this budget today and this warrant today. And again, we're moving forward on it without getting together and taking a close look. So we're going to, well, that's all right. That's all I'm saying.
And I just want to intervene on that. I mean, these were emailed out to each one of you on Thursday. I stayed late after your meeting, and I did not leave that building until almost 9 o'clock emailing those out to you last Thursday. We mailed out hard copies Friday morning. I can't control if the mail didn't deliver them to your house, but every person had this last Thursday at 8:30, 8:45 before I left that building. So I really would appreciate that. You know, I don't know why we keep saying that, because it was in your inbox last Thursday at 8:30.
I think the point that Tom's trying to make, then, is that we've only had 2 business days to look this stuff over.
I understand that. I can understand, and that is a difference of wording. But to continue to say that he hasn't, that it's not received is just not accurate.
First of all, I didn't say received. I received it. I had it Thursday night. But
Thank
there are
you.
members of this committee that did not, and I apologize for any inference you've drawn, or you've drawn from what I said. Okay, I do apologize
Just
for
so
that.
it's clear that everybody had it Thursday. I did.
I had it Thursday. I worked on it Friday. Okay, there are a lot of numbers there. How many people have had a chance to go through the budget document? And we're doing this. I don't have a problem doing it. I mean, if you want to do it, but we need to be. We should be looking at this stuff. Become more familiar with it, so we know what we're buying.
I will add in that the budget is basically flat, minus the things that increase that we don't have control over.
I don't have a problem with that, Rick, and that's fine. But I just think this committee is supposed to be doing a job here, and I don't think we don't have the time to get a hold of it, and we're voting on this stuff. So that's my objection.
I think
Budget numbers, but.
I agree with what Rick said. It's most of the budget is flat, so we shouldn't have to spend much time on it. The fire truck is a different issue.
Can I say something here? The budget isn't flat, the tax rate is flat.
Right.
They said the other day that the tax rate is flat, but the budget isn't flat. They have put things in the budget on some accounts that have gone up. So
I can only speak to my budget. It's the only one I look at.
Yeah.
So my budget stays the same as it did last year, minus the things that I don't have control over, like insurance. And Michelle is the one that adjusts all that stuff, and I trust in her ability to do that.
Yeah, she probably could go through very quickly and tell you where the increases are.
Well, they all have it, Jim.
I mean,
The bottom
I agree
line
with
is-
what Ani is saying, but still, when you get to the bottom line, it's not much different than last year, so I'm basically happy.
Okay. The fire department budget, fire rescue, is up 5.31%. Okay? That's according to Michelle's numbers. It's right down here at the bottom. It's up $33,487. So that is not a flat line budget. Okay? Now, I'm going to speak to some of the reasons why. We were told when at selectmen's meeting by the Board of Selectmen, and they changed to a part-time chief, they wanted to add an EMA person. And basically, it was a wash financially. That's what the people of the town of Acton was told. Okay, so there was really no impact to the budget. Okay? But the truth of the matter is, there's an increase in that line of $43,000. And that with no pay increases for anybody. And what you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Rick. This isn't actually your budget. Because what you wanted was a raise for people. What you wanted was a raise for your health so that you could pay comparable to other towns. And the selectmen put out a thing and said, nobody's getting any raises this year. And you agreed with this, which is the right thing for you to do. I'm not taking away from your honesty about any of this, but this is an increase in the budget. And one of the biggest reasons there's an increase in the budget is because we went to a full-time EMT. And that's one of the biggest reasons, because of the benefits and stuff like that, that they weren't allowed to have before, and now they are. And it's nothing you can do about it, Rick. It's a set cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I did ask for raises for all of my help, pretty much everybody but myself. And it got cut because of what's going on. And I understand that, you know, and understand that every year that as long as I'm in this seat and sitting in front of you guys, I'm always going to ask for what's best to make my people's lives better and to compensate them fairly. And so you'll always hear that from me, and I'll work with everybody to make sure that we stay within the confines of the budget. But my people work really hard, and they've trained really hard, and they do a phenomenal job. I am very proud of the people that work here, and I'm always going to fight for them.
And what I'm saying is, Rick, you should have got what you asked for originally. Excuse me, because these people are putting their lives on the line, and they're putting countless hours into training. And the minimum amount of money that we're compensating them, 2 or 3% raise would have been more than reasonable. And I think the selectman's office was wrong in cutting that out. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I appreciate your kind words and support.
With that, is there any more discussion? You have a
Move the
motion
question.
on the floor. Go ahead, Roland.
Move the question.
That's what I was just going to do.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify verbally.
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Virginia,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
It's unanimous, Jen.
Are you voting yes, Dennis?
No, I'm abstaining.
Oh,
Noted.
With that being said, Rick, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everything you and the department do for the town.
Thank you.
And
Second.
hopefully a year from now, we'll be able to have more of a positive support, which I think we did anyway, but towards the fire and rescue. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, now moving on. We need, I have to respect the situation we're in, but I also have to respect the Warrant Finance Committee wishes and what they're supposed to be doing according to our ordinance. And I've said this before, the reason why there's such a rush on this is because of a decision the selectmen made, okay, to have a ballot vote on this and not have a town meeting. I don't agree with it, but I'm not a selectman. I don't know how the Warrant and Finance Committee can do their job, what they're supposed to be doing, to the town meeting, if we have to have all this stuff done in less than 2 weeks. It just doesn't, it can't be done. It just can't be done. I don't see how it can be done. You know, there's this thing already about asking for information, and you need a vote of the committee to get this information. It's all messed up, if you ask me, and that's just my opinion. If there's not going to be any leniency towards us, you know, it seems to me like it's always just one way here, and we're bent over backwards, and we try to do this, but I don't feel comfortable making these decisions. I think the committee has to. On how you want to move forward.
I make a point.
Go ahead, David.
You know, you guys just voted on that fire truck. You guys, you don't want it. I'll tell you another thing. You think this whole thing is the town meeting ain't gonna, the votes ain't gonna pass it because of you? I don't think so. I think probably the last voice is gonna be the townspeople. So
That's what I've been saying.
What you're looking at is the recommendation of us. That's it. Yes or no. And then the town takes over. That we got an influx on it, no doubt. But that's what I'm going to leave it at. We're kind of be putting in a spot, no doubt.
Just for clarification, the Warrant and Finance Committee majority voted to go along with the fire truck.
Really?
Yes.
Well, good. That ain't how I took it.
Well, now you know. Anybody else? I'd like to have an opinion on how we're gonna move forward here, guys.
Dennis,
Go ahead.
what is the next meeting that we have scheduled?
The road commissioners.
And that's next Monday?
Yeah. And the following Monday's a holiday, I think.
Yep.
How about some of these housekeeping articles that there's no wording and no financial bearing on? Could some of those be discussed or voted on?
I agree, Jen. We could do them Monday, before we start into the road stuff. If the committee's fine with that, I'm fine with that. And we can get all that stuff out of the way.
Why not do some of it tonight?
Yeah.
Because I'm not ready to. I wasn't prepared to do any of this stuff tonight. My thought was, we're gonna talk about the fire budget, and then we're gonna next week to talk about the road budget, and the week after that, we're gonna talk to the selectmen's budget and the rec budget and stuff like that, and we're gonna vote on it April 1st. So I honestly haven't done, I haven't done my research. I'm just not prepared to do it tonight. I'm more than willing to do it Monday night.
So the Warrant and Finance won't consider having two meetings so that they can possibly vote on the 26th. I just need to prepare from the election side if we're going to be hand counting, I guess, or if the board has to get an opinion. So is that the consensus of the committee?
I'm not saying that, Jen.
Okay.
We'll have this discussion Monday. That's the best I can do unless somebody wants to discuss it tonight.
Well, may I say something? We just got the deadline tonight, and people do have lives that we have to deal with. And I think a good idea would be to everybody to go over this and your warrant and pick out the articles we do and suggest to you, Dennis, an agenda of all the ones that we could get done on Monday and what our thing will be. I mean, you know, we do have a charge that we are elected to do is to assist the voters in deciding on the merits of financial articles. And we should get through this. And it just, like I say, it's just, I mean, the deadline is all of a sudden, it's just 11 days away. Or what, 15, 14, I don't know.
Somebody else's deadline.
That's based on the requirement for the printing of the ballots. That's the basis for the deadline. However, I do feel that we need to deal with more articles than just one per meeting or one department, let me rephrase that, more than just one department per meeting, okay? As Jennifer did so appropriately point out, there are a lot of articles in here which we could deal with fairly quickly. I've already been through the warrant. I only had 2 or 3 articles that I did not make a decision on as to whether or not I would support yes or no. That's just based on, you know, I need just a little bit more information, or I have a question on a particular article. But, you know, I've already been through the warrant. I understand what Tom is saying as far as we do not have, and I will put myself in this pail. I don't have the all of the information that Jen sent out via email last Thursday. The reason I don't have it is because when I went to try and print it off, Jen, it was so small, I couldn't see it. So I was waiting for my hard copy. I have not received my hard copy in the mail. I realize that is not your problem. You put them in the mail, and I, you know, don't have a problem with that. But I do think that, you know, as a committee, we certainly should be able to deal with more than just one department per meeting. We don't have the time. I understand it's not something that everybody wants to deal with on a rapid basis, but being as this is the path that has been chosen for us, we're going to do this by secret ballot. I don't agree with it, but again, you know, I will do what I have to do. And that's all I'm going to say. Have a good evening, folks.
Go ahead, Tom.
I've been through the warrant also. On Saturday, I did that, and I've got about 23 different articles that I have questions and concerns with. And a lot of it just has to do with wording, but that's fine. And there are conflicts there. And I mean, this stuff needs to be talked through, but I need to be going through it more to fully understand. Right. So.
Virginia, do you have anything what you want to add?
No, I've read through the whole warrant. I don't see any showstoppers in there.
Doctor?
No questions that are in my mind that are gonna make or break which way I vote.
Okay. Okay. What's your opinion?
Hold on, he's unmuted. Go ahead, Jennifer.
There we go. Been browsing through. If I become a voting member some night, I would be ready to make a vote on most of the articles.
All right. Carol?
And, I think that, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that next Monday we should be able to do the roads and most of the housekeeping articles.
Yeah.
I think tonight is too soon. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Well, I tell you, Jen, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a little old school. And if this committee wants to, we can do the whole warrant Monday night. I've got no problems staying and doing the whole thing. Or we can go and until the committee says they want to stop. And we'll do the roads and we'll do the rec, and the forestry and the cemetery and the donations and all that. We'll go through all that until people are tired of it, and then we'll move on.
Rec is probably, we're not going to be able to deal with the rec on Monday. Because
Why is that?
I'm sorry?
Why is that?
They're having a workshop on Tuesday with the treasurer and myself to talk about that last article in regards to how much of their revenues they need to raise and appropriate offset. So with everything that's changed, that number is going to change. So Michelle, we want to just make sure that they understand what, I'm going to pull that article up here. We're saying with 5,600 to come out of anticipated revenues, we want to make sure that's still an obtainable number based on everything going on with all the canceled sports. So
you were saying these articles aren't set yet?
actually, you know what, I'm off a week, Dennis. I apologize. Michelle and I are meeting with them tomorrow night, so we will be all set for next Monday. I'm a week off.
Okay.
Right, Michelle?
So we're all set now, Jen, on our meeting. We're gonna meet until people say they don't want to do it anymore, and we'll reschedule the next stuff for the following Tuesday, which is what, the 22nd? Is that right?
So we've got, so next Monday is the 18th, and then the following Tuesday,
Way off on that.
yep, the following Tuesday would be the 26th.
Okay, that'll be our target.
Yep. And I guess I'll just put it out there. If as you guys are looking over this warrant over the next week, you see any information that you think you need, I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you to contact your chair. And Dennis, contact me directly, and I will speak to the board about it on Wednesday. But certainly, the selectmen appreciate in this trying times, you're doing what you can to help us make sure that we can get this on a ballot rather than handcounting it. And if that means that we have to alleviate some of the procedures just to get through this as far as physical votes, we certainly want to make sure the whole committee gets everything they need and want for information. So send your questions to Dennis. I'll talk to the board on Wednesday, and I would think with this one exception, they'll be okay with it.
Anything else from
I
anybody?
agree with that, Dennis.
I do too.
Go ahead, Tom.
I do have something that I want before we meet with the road people, and this refers to last year. Last hearing we had, before the warrant was finalized, we had a discussion regarding Article 77 of last year's warrant, and I raised a number of legal issues. And you, Jennifer, indicated you were going to look into it, get back to me, and I have not heard a thing. Specifically, I was interested in seeing deeds, etc. And if there are any legal descriptions, stuff like that, I would like that information.
Let me get last year's results here in front of me, and let's pull up 77 and figure out. You said it was Article 77 from last year?
Right. It has to do, it's 7th Street. The article to adopt, the article to accept 7th Street. We had no article to accept a deed, which is required because you're taking land off the tax rolls. And the information that I had requested and we discussed at that meeting had to do with the deeds to be considered by the town meeting, and I haven't seen anything. So,
and if I recall, since you brought it up, if I recall, the selectmen got a legal opinion on accepting that road, and they didn't feel like any further information was needed. I mean, the townspeople voted on it and approved it. The Warrant and Finance made their recommendation as they were supposed to with the ordinance, and once it got voted on at town meeting, I wasn't instructed to do anything else with it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm looking for information, so I'm asking for information because it is an issue that in my mind still needs to be addressed and maybe resolved. I don't know. But
What does Article 77 have to do with this year's warrant?
Has to do with roads.
So let me just pull up 77, make sure I'm looking at the right one. So
It's 77.
77.
Yeah.
To see if the town will vote to accept 7th Street as a Class B road.
Yes.
What are you requesting regarding 7th Street? I don't understand what the specific question is that you're looking for.
I don't think this is an appropriate time to have that discussion. We can have that separately unless you want to continue it, but I
just assume with the selectman present, so I make sure I get it right, and they want me to research an article to
I requested at the time to see the deeds that we were going to accept, okay, which we haven't, and I didn't get those back, and I didn't get the legal description I wanted. I've seen drafts of that information, but I have seen nothing that was finalized, nothing that was signed. So I have no idea. I have no idea what we accepted, and now we're placed in the position of voting maintain that as a town road. That's part of our job. All right? So moving forward, I'm asking for that information now.
So all of the deeds of the 7th Street and the legal description of what was adopted.
The deeds involved in that, the deeds that were accepted, if any were accepted.
I will send you the packet that I have on it tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess the point he's making, Jen, is that now it's accepted as a town road. Some of the road money is going to be spent on.
I understand now that he got through the rest of it. I hear what he's saying. I will pull the information tomorrow.
With that being said, are we all set for Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Nope, Michelle's got her hand up.
Michelle's got her hand up.
Dennis, on the phone earlier, you and I had the discussion of these budget books that I started preparing 2 months ago.
Yes.
I have budget books ready with detailed information from department heads, social services. Are those budget books something that the committee members would be interested in picking up if I left them outside undercover at town hall?
I know I would be.
Yes.
That, if you call ahead, if you come in Tuesday between 9 and 4 or Thursday 3 to 8 when we're open, if you call and tell me you're coming up, I'll have one of my, rather than leaving them outside, we'll make sure you get them. I'll meet you at the election hall door and we'll just, give you the books over there. We've got enough staff to somebody can run it over to you.
Sounds like a plan, Jennifer.
I'm sorry, Jen. Run it over where?
Just call me when you're coming up to the, Michelle, are the books ready now?
Yeah, they are ready.
Okay, so anytime either tomorrow between 9 and 4 or Thursday between 3 and 8, to all of the Warrant and Finance members, just call and say, hey, I'm heading up to get my book, and I'll send either Cheryl or myself will come outside and watch for you and hand you your book.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thank you, Michelle. Tom, before we...
I see Michelle in the background, and I just had a quick question for her. Did you get my email back tonight, Michelle, regarding the printout that you sent me?
Yes, and I will resend those tomorrow. It looks like the last column was cut off. I'll resend those.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? David?
Aye.
Aye.
Monty?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Roland?
Most assuredly, yes.
It's 5-0. We're adjourning. See you guys Monday night.
Thank you, Dennis,
Thank you very much,
for
guys.
putting up with us.
Thank you, Jen, Michelle, Ed.
Thank you.